So really not much more to really talk about with Max and Valtteri. They just kind of went off into the distance, had their own race.
Mm-hmm.
Yancey, it's your time to shine.
Charlie! Woo! Let's go, baby.
It's a woo for me, but
I like to say I told you so.
yeah.
And I did predict it last week.
You did predict it.
That with the new upgrades that Ferrari brought to Charles Leclerc's engine last week, we didn't see the true pace of it in Sochi, but we did see it this weekend. And the Ferraris, both Ferraris, Leclerc and Sainz, were running very well all throughout practice, and they ran well in qualifying. Obviously, they had their own strategy in qualifying with Sainz because he was going to start at the back of the grid. But during the race, my man Charlie was actually had the lead at one point. We thought at one point maybe he could win this race, which was what made this. Honestly, this race wasn't the best race, but it wasn't the worst race because there was a lot of tension. There was a lot of what's going to happen, who's going to pit, who's going to win the race. We didn't know who was going to win the race until the last few laps of the race, which is what we wanted.
At a certain point, it felt like it was like a waiting game. Okay, we're waiting. Who's going to take? We're waiting.
Right, exactly. So, but either way, my man Charlie had a great weekend, and he came this close to finishing on the podium. But obviously, it was the faster cars that finished ahead of him anyways. So to get fourth was phenomenal. Good for him. And how about Sainz? At the beginning of that race, bro.
He actually showed that this weekend.
My man was the only one
taking the risks,
getting these overtakes done with precision, moving up the field. That first half of the race, he was putting on a master class. Starting last, I think he got up to 7th or 8th. And what killed him, honestly, was the pit stop.
He made it all the way up to 8th, and then he finished 8th.
Yeah. But he could have finished at least 1 or 2 positions higher if they hadn't messed up that pit stop. It was the 8-second pit stop.
8 seconds. Whew. I would love to see that. I haven't seen the video for the pit stop.
Whew. Yeah. But either way, a phenomenal weekend for Ferrari. A good omen, especially with the tracks that are remaining. It's going to be very competitive between them and McLaren. And it seems like the Ferraris, with that new engine upgrade, seems like they've clawed back a little bit in that power. So maybe they'll be better along the straights. I'm excited about this one.
The finesse.
Yes, I am excited about this one.
There's a 7.5-point difference between McLaren and Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship.
Yep. And I think there's only a half-point difference between Leclerc and Sainz in their battle, in the individual battle.
That is exactly right. Holy crap.
Yes. So either way, the next 6 races, there's a lot to decide here.
To shift around.
And it's going to be
a lot of shuffle
amazing. But I love what Ferrari's doing. The teamwork is great. The
energy feels like
the energy feels different on that team. It seems like they're cooperating more. There's no infighting. They're just, they're putting their head down and they're going forward and they're trying to get that 3rd place. This is going to be good.
I like what Carlos Sainz said at the end of the post-race interviews, whatever. He said, if Vettel would have turned a little earlier, I don't think I would be here talking right now because I would just get destroyed.
Yeah.
That's how much finessing, how much risk he was taking.
What Ruben's referring to is during his climb up the field, I forget what turn it was, but he went to make the overtake on the inside line of Vettel on a left-hand turn. Vettel almost turned right into him. I don't know if you saw him or not, or if Carlos Sainz just couldn't make the turn and he had to go further out, but it was very hairy for a little bit.
There's something that and I watched Peter Windsor, who's an F1 journalist on YouTube, but he's very good at analyzing the driving styles of drivers. And one thing that we do notice, and I think we've noticed this with Vettel sometimes tends to cut in early. The way he takes the turn is not more of like a curve, like a usual curve going into the apex. He does like a V style. So he turns in, brakes late, goes in deeper to the corner, and then turns in almost like a V and hits the apex. That's probably what happened. He was, obviously Carlos Sainz went onto the inside, maybe Sebastian Vettel, went in early. That's his driving style. He's not doing anything wrong, and that's probably why they almost came together. So, but either way, it was a very good overtake. It was clean racing. It was nothing malicious there.
No, he just said that he said that most of the overtakes were all hairy moments.
Yeah, obviously.
But that one was the one that was like
and then
really
what you have to take into account is that obviously it was damp the whole race. It was
the whole race.
There was no dry line because that track, unfortunately, the way it seems, obviously, the last 2 years it doesn't drain very well, doesn't dry very well, so it's gonna stay damp for a lot of the. If it's raining, it's gonna stay damp, so you're not gonna get a dry line. And so even if you're on the dry line, you go outside, it's probably even wetter because obviously there's no cars going through there. So anytime you go either on the inside or the outside, it's gonna be hairy, it's gonna be slippery because you're on intermediate tires or what they call now slick-intermediate tires. When this happens, it gets scary if you're gonna do an overtake. That's why you didn't see many overtakes. But it was an interesting race.
Except for the driver of the day.
Yeah, man. Oh, Carlos. Yeah, man. Chile did his thing this race.
Yep.
Which is great.
It's unbelievable how he has gone. Hey guys, this is Wellington from the Jump to Start Racing crew. Before we start, I want to make sure to tell you to destroy that like button and to make sure to hit subscribe to be up to date with our episodes and clips. Please make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Our handle on both platforms is @JumpTheStartF1. See you there.